Hello, welcome to this week's Roundtable. This is Jason Winnell from the Table Project, and this is Roundtable 20. In this edition of the Roundtable, we have a great guest here, Jonathan Davis from Bethlehem Baptist. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. I'm sure all these people that come to the webinars are probably tired of hearing my voice, so it's good to have a different voice here, and just want to say hello to you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
And really today, the main reason of doing this is that Jonathan was part of championing the Table Project at Bethlehem Baptist Church here in Minneapolis. And they've been one of our most successful churches as far as launch and numbers and engagement goes. And so we thought it'd be helpful to bring him in, just go through some questions that might be helpful to the rest of you that are all in different stages of launch to implementation. And just get his thoughts, have kind of an open conversation. As far as questions, I have a bunch of questions for him, but please feel free to add some. We'll get to those at the end. We've also added his Twitter handle over there on the chat on your GoToWebinar panel. They're at JAD77, and he was kind enough to say, if any questions you have ongoing about this, feel free to hit him up at Twitter, and he'll respond to you there. So that's very kind of him to offer that as well. So yeah, let's just get started. I mean, the kind of to prime the conversation, my main thing was just around Bethlehem Baptist. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your church and maybe some of the demographics about your church?
Sure. Our church is a large church in the Minneapolis area. We've got 3 campuses, one in downtown Minneapolis, one up in Mounds View, and a third site down in Burnsville. We're in the process right now of figuring out our permanent location for the south site to live at. We're meeting at a high school currently. Attendance runs anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 a week. And we have 9 services across those 3 campuses. Our demographics, we're really across the board. I wouldn't call us a young church. I would say we're much more of a family church. Our youth, as far as the median age, would be brought low because we have a lot of children involved in our church, but it's not to say that we have a very young church or a tech-savvy church in that way. We're very family-centered. We have a really wonderful contingent of seasoned citizens that join us and help lead us in some wonderful ways that aren't tech-savvy at all.
Great. Next question is really just around, why were you looking for a product like the table? What were you hoping to accomplish?
Sure. Well, we saw early on that table was going to be, or social media was going to be a big impact, and it took us a long time to get on board with it. We really took our time because we wanted to do it right the first time, and we didn't try a whole bunch of things and see what was going to stick. We just kept looking until we found something that we thought was the best fit for us. So we looked around at different options like So Church and the city and some other things. We were even considered rolling our own for a while using some open source technology and some Linux servers and just kind of whipping up our own thing. But ultimately, once we were introduced to the table, we decided that this was kind of the way to go. As far as what we were looking for from it, recognizing really that social media is a big deal for our culture, and we want to redeem all things for God's glory. So that was one part of it, and we want to say, well, we want to be able to use these tools to help spread the gospel, to help spread passion for Christ. So that's one of the big things that we're looking for. Also, being able to help people get connected together, making new friendships, relationships, developing interaction that didn't exist otherwise. In a large church, it's really easy to kind of get hidden If you want to be hidden, you can be hidden as much as you want because there's so many people around. It's hard to single everybody out. In a small church, the new people stick out like a sore thumb. So it's easy to go up and say, "Hey, I noticed you're new. My name's Jonathan," and kind of develop a relationship that way. So in the larger church, it's easier to hide out, and we want to give people yet another way of being able to interact that may not be as intimidating as trying to introduce themselves to somebody else, and being able to use an online tool would facilitate that in some different ways.
Very good. Nice. Next question, which I guess you kind of already answered. What other solutions did you look at? Why? You mentioned So Church and the city and all of our different people doing different things in the space, which obviously we're a fan of all of them. We feel like the church at large needs a lot of different solutions here to be successful. Why the table for Bethlehem?
Well, one of the biggest things that caught our attention, and even big churches have to consider these things, is our budget. We look at what's it going to cost us, and it's not just the dollars per user per month, but also the administrative side of things, and what's it going to cost us in time. And when we found out the table was first of all free, we were just really blown away. It's really how is that even possible? And then looking at what it took to make it run, and how simple it really was. We beta tested for a while and just kind of played around with things to figure out how was this thing going to work. And it turned out this is really simple. It's super and it works well.
Very good. As far as one of the big questions we get here at the table is why not Facebook? And I think at the kind of the first impression for a lot of people, it's like why are you introducing a new social tool to us? So obviously Facebook and Google Circles and all the other things out there. What's your presence on Facebook, and how do you how would you both see it complementing what the table is and also contrasting the type of community that's happening on your current table?
Well, Bethlehem is kind of a well-known church. Our pastor is John Piper, and he's kind of got a following of his own. And because of the following that he has, people also then check out Bethlehem Baptist a lot. And our Facebook followers are numerous, and it's not just our members. So being able to send a message through social media to people who actually attend our church is really difficult using Facebook. I can't do that. I can't differentiate between, some guy from Walla Walla, Washington, who just likes Bethlehem, compared to somebody that is actually part of our body. I can't tell the difference between those two people online. But on the table, as the way we have it set up as an invite situation, functioning within Fellowship One and using that database, I'm able to have really granular control and say, these are the people that I want to talk to.
Right.
These are the people that I want to be able to enter into intimate community and relationship with, as opposed to Facebook, which is as wide and deep as you want it to be.
Right.
Our current Facebook page is basically rebroadcasting blog feeds from our website. There's some comments and things that happen there, but there's really not much interaction.
Right. Cool. So you see it somewhat complementing you. You're really using Facebook still as a broadcast piece, somewhat with some light interaction.
Yeah. When people ask questions, we direct them to the right place on Facebook, but it's not where people meet online.
Right. And was that one of your big questions in your head of, man, will people really log into another social network?
Yeah, it really was. And I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I've got LinkedIn, I've got Google Plus, and I've checked all these things out. And part of it's for me personally, just kind of as a techie guy. I like that side of things. But then part of it is ministry-wise. How can I leverage these things to glorify God and advance His kingdom? So I look at it from all those different aspects. And so Facebook really does act more as a broadcast tool.
Sure. Okay. Very good.
We do hope to expand that down the road.
Yeah.
but it's not high on our priority list because the readership is so broad. And Bethlehem is a church in Minneapolis and in Mounds View and in Burnsville, and not everywhere else in the world.
Right, right.
We send missionaries all over the place. But
right. Very good. Cool. Explain a little bit. I mean, one thing we've seen with a lot of churches that have launched well is getting leadership buy-in. How did you get leadership buy-in, and who did you need to get involved? And if you could explain a little bit of that process.
Yeah, we've got a lot of pastors at Bethlehem, and one of the pastors is John Grano, and he's pastor for operations. He was the first one that got introduced to the table from the team that initially started it. And as he looked at it, he was sold almost immediately. And part of it is the simplicity of the tool. Part of it's the heart behind the people that make it happen. And that's a huge thing. Once he saw it and said, yes, we can do this, yes, this will work well, and then we looked at it and analyzed it and said, okay, what's it going to take to make it work, and all these different pieces. Once we analyzed it and decided that this was a good way to go, then we took it before a group of the lead pastors that kind of take care of the vision and planning and the guidance of the church. And we said, okay, we've been looking for a long time trying to find the right solution to be able to do this. We think this tool, this table, might be it. So we shared it with them, and they were blown away. They really loved it.
Do you think there's anything specific that resonated with them that really made it click, that was kind of an aha moment for them to really kind of grasp it?
Yeah. The pieces that we shared with them that really caught their attention were using it as like an online directory. We got this nice online pictorial directory that is as accurate as individuals want to keep it.
Right.
If I don't go in there and change my address, nobody's going to know that I moved. But I want people to know that I moved because I want relationship and I want contact. So I update that kind of thing. So the online directory piece was big. The prayer wall was massive. Being able to enter into each other's lives by using the prayer wall is a huge thing, and so we're excited about how it's been used and what those pieces are going to do to continue to grow our congregation. And then the Serve app was the third piece that we really liked. And again, it's a big church, and helping people make real life connections, it can be difficult. And this is a fantastic tool to help us get past some of the fear of becoming one in intimacy with another person, as opposed to just one that's part of a crowd.
You mentioned the Serve app. In seeing Bethlehem's activity, I've been blown away by the amount of service that's happening. I think you guys have had over 120 different items completed since launch. You haven't been going that long. Can you speak to that at all, as far as the uniqueness of that compared to maybe before the table?
Well, yeah. It's been really exciting watching the Serve app and watching the opportunities. And it's been nice. It's like, well, I've got this thing. It's still got value, but I don't have use for it anymore. And sure, I could throw it on Craigslist and get a couple bucks for it, maybe, and have to deal with some really strange person.
Right.
Or I can offer this to my body of believers that I am in fellowship with all the time, and maybe somebody there has a real need for it, and I can help out in that way. So it's really cool to see that. I am personally astounded at how many volunteer side things are going on as opposed to the stuff.
Right.
I really thought the stuff would be a bigger thing. I thought it was going to be I'm going to get rid of this, I'm going to get rid of that, or hey, I need this and I need that. And there is that aspect of it, and people are using it that way. But it pales in comparison to the usage on the volunteer side.
Right.
And I'm really blown away. It's really exciting to see people getting involved in each other's lives. We had some tornadoes go through here in the late spring up in Minneapolis, and I was at home with my kids, and just kind of figuring out what we're going to do for the day. My wife was gone to a meeting of her own, and so I jump online to see what's going on the table, and somebody says, "Hey, we're helping clean up in this part of town. Come and join us." I said, "All right, guys, get your grubbies on. We're going to go out and we're going to help clean up." So we loaded up in the car, drove up to North Minneapolis, found the address that they put on the table, and we joined in with people we knew and people we didn't know,
Right.
but we know them now.
Right.
And my kids got to be involved and made new friends, and we were able to help out these folks in cleaning up this really awful situation.
So you kind of already answered that question, but I think the unique nugget in there is that we talk a lot about at the table about the everything pointing back to that physical connection, and that's really some of the special sauce of what the table is. And other people, a lot of kind of opponents to social media, it's, well, we're becoming more disconnected, and you put out an iPhone app, and now everyone's going to just be interacting on their palms as opposed to getting in real life communication. Can you speak to that at all, as far as the real relationships that can come out of those interactions?
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, one of the unique things about a church body is that there's some inherent trust built into that. And we're not only worshiping together, but now we're doing life together. And knowing that I'm not alone in that, and knowing that there's a bunch of other people going through it with me, and knowing that I can throw something on the prayer wall, and now even more people are joining in with me before the throne saying, okay, life isn't easy. We recognize that, and we're together petitioning God for help through this situation. So it's an online tool to drive real life interaction, and it's really exciting to see how it gets people a greater desire to know one another. The prayer app on its own would be just an online only interaction thing. It could be an online only interaction thing, but it creates a desire to start to get to know some of these people. And when this family who's going through a crisis is asking for prayer, and I join in with them for prayer, and at my dinner table, hey guys, I saw on the table this afternoon that this family is having a real hard time with this kind of a situation. Let's be sure to spend some time in prayer for them, and we do that. Well, then we meet that family for the first time in church because I recognize their picture, and now I'm walking through this with them in real life, and it's so much more than just clicking buttons on a phone.
That's awesome. It's a great testimony. What about how important did you see it was? And you have the leadership team, and they're like, okay, we're in. How important was it getting your head pastor, who is John Piper, to cast the vision for the table? To make it a success? How important was that?
To me, it was really important because, I could I have done it another route? Yeah, I had some ideas of, we got different campus pastors, and I could get each campus pastor to help out with casting that vision. But having it come directly from John Piper himself was very, very helpful for us. So being able to get the energy from him behind this, and honestly, when he saw it and started seeing the potential, I mean, it wasn't, he's our lead pastor for preaching and vision. He caught the vision.
Right.
He saw it and said, this is good. This is really helpful. And so he said, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to put our energy toward it, and let me know what I can do to help. So he saw the value in it, and so we incorporated him in casting the vision. I think it was really important. We created a video that we played for all our services of him announcing the table for Bethlehem, and they were all. Everybody was really excited about it, and it's not that I couldn't have done it another way.
Sure.
I could have,
sure,
but it was very helpful coming from him.
Sure. Okay. And what's your? I think a lot of churches out there might say, well, my pastor is not tech. He doesn't get this stuff. He doesn't get technology. He's not on everything. How do we get him to cast a vision? I mean, it seems like Piper is kind of, he's certainly has some savviness to him as far as technology. But I don't know where he is on that spectrum. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit. But.
Well, if you've got a head pastor, a lead pastor that isn't big on tech, I don't think that really affects things much, because he doesn't need to be big on photography to understand the value of a pictorial directory. He doesn't need to be big on using forums and interaction that way to understand the value of people being in contact with each other on a prayer wall.
Right.
I mean, nobody's going to say that it's not worth our time to have a prayer chain for our church when there's issues that need to be prayed about. Right. We know that that's important. We know it's valuable. Right. And I don't think you're going to find anybody that's going to naysay that. And all we're doing is creating new ways of doing those things.
Sure. Very good. Cool. Next one, what were your expectations going into this? I mean, as far as kind of best case, worst case, what are you thinking?
Yeah, well, initially before we launched, as we were still doing the testing and kind of playing around with it, I had pie in the sky dreams of what could be. And like, oh, this will be our main communications tool, and we'll be able to do this, that, and the other thing with it. And honestly, I was trying to make the table do too much, more than it's supposed to do. So then, as we did our launch, as we did a soft launch just for staff, watching people buy into it, again, it was kind of slow. Yeah. It didn't take off. And I was like, well, come on, you just jump in, do this. Well, there's a little bit of fear. It's something new. They're not used to this. So it took a while for folks to grasp the idea and, well, what are we supposed to do with it? And so it took a while for that to happen. Once we got the launch team together and got Pastor John's buy-in and the other pastors to be involved with it, and then we opened the floodgates, not really knowing what was going to happen. I was like, well, we'll see, I guess. But then as people started using it immediately, I was just relieved because it was amazing. I go onto the prayer wall every day, and as I look at it, there's always a new request. And the numbers of people that had been prayed for have increased, and more people have prayed for them. Right. And there's new comments about what's going on. And I just get really excited because this is the body working.
One thing that amazed me about, I don't know if this is true at all churches, but it seems like whenever I've gone on to the Bethlehem table, it seems like every prayer is prayed for, which is another, they don't go unprayed for, which is amazing to me that people do for every prayer request, and there's hundreds and hundreds, that someone is praying for every individual on there, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's like there's no man left behind here. Yeah. They really do. There's people out there who God has gifted with the desire to pray for whatever it is that's going on, and we call them prayer warriors a lot. And they just jump in and they want to pray about those things that's going on. The other reality is, as you're reading somebody's story about the circumstance that they're in, there's something, you may not be able to relate to the story completely, but there's almost always something there that you can say, yeah, I've been there. That's hard. I'm going to pray for that because I've been through that situation. God delivered me because here I am standing here today.
Right.
So God delivered me, and I know God can deliver this person too. So I'm going to pray for this person that they will see God as great and glorious through this, that God will give them deliverance, that they'll have a testimony of their own to share with other people of His greatness because how He's brought them through the circumstance. It's not the end of the world. There is, we know there's greater things to come. So, there is always hope. So, cool. the ability for people to enjoy that together is really cool.
Very cool. So would you say that, previous to launch expectations and now after launch, next question is kind of around penetration. Would you say it went above what you thought it would? Or
it really did. I was hoping to get 20 to 30% penetration. We had that within the first week after launch. I was really blown away. Our table isn't open to anybody 13 or younger. And in fact, we're still figuring out how to use it best for our youth, so there's not a lot of youth on there yet. And we're already at over 1,700 people. Well, out of our regular attenders, we're we're past 50% of those people, which is just really incredible for me. I'm just blown away, and it continues to rise.
Right. Yeah, I think you had said, what, 40 to 50 a month right now,
Yeah.
kind of ongoing?
Ongoing, about an extra 40, 50 a month. And well, it has been more than that, but
Right.
we're seeing we're getting more and more people in, so it's slower and slower for new people to come in.
Right.
But to have 1,700 people of our body jumping in there regularly.
Right. Well, I think it's fascinating too. I mean, as we've explained on these before, there's different settings on the table as far as how open and closed, not closed, how kind of as far as people get in from fully open to invite only. And you guys are on kind of the extreme of invite only. You need
Yes,
to go through this process,
Yep.
And then we invite you, and we enter you into Fellowship 1. So definitely, even your bar is higher than a lot of churches as far as even getting into the table. So I think that's even another kind of wow to get that many people through that process, and then growing at that rate through that kind of higher bar process is also fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's we take it really seriously when people have a desire to be involved with our church. This isn't something that we take lightly, and because of that, it follows into how we use the table. The table is just for members and regular attenders. Not anybody can get in.
Right. What would you say to that note, as far as some people look at the table and say, well, it's not. I want to use this for outreach. Like, are you guys all about just this Christian ghetto as opposed to new believers? Or what are your thoughts as far as that kind of somewhat walled garden approach?
Well, it's not like we're excluding anybody from walking in the door. We don't.
Right.
Anybody can walk into our door. You don't. As you are, come on in and experience the love of God. He doesn't exclude us to come to Him, so we don't exclude people to come in through our doors. But to be part of a body, that's a more intimate setting. That's a commitment that's happening there. There are some expectations that we have of each other relationally. If you went and visited somebody else's church and had a bad experience there, would that reflect badly about that person or about the church? Probably about the church more than maybe just the person, because those things affect us so deeply. There's expectations I have about this church because they're a church.
Right.
And the people that belong to it, I'm expecting things about them as well. So we hold a higher bar and have expectations of folks that want to call Bethlehem their church home, and it's not like there's membership rules just to be able to attend. That's not the case.
Right.
But there are expectations for relational commitments and those connections that we make.
Well, I think you've hit it on the head of what the table is really built for. We've always said, as far as outreach and engagement outside the church, I still think Facebook, Twitter, that's what those tools are great at, because it's just this open network, and that's wonderful, and those things are needed. And often we point to the table wasn't built specifically for that. I think that we'll continue to make improvements to make that better and more kind of blurring the lines between being able to bring information in and out. But I think that's a unique piece.
And for outreach and going beyond our own church walls, by far the most effective tool is the first tool that Christ used, and that was people, and impacting people with other people. And so we have a lot of evangelistic opportunities that we do through our church.
Right.
But it's those personal interactions of person to person, and the online side is okay, now I'm part of this group, and so we're building each other up to love and good works.
Great. Next one, what would you say is the most impactful thing you did during the launch to have a successful launch?
Well, it's probably two-part. The first piece would be the video from Pastor John. That was by far the most impactful thing. The second one was sending out the invitation emails, and that was surprisingly simple.
Did you do one or two? Did you do it from your church database or F1?
We did it through F1.
F1 in the table.
And we did through F1 in the table, and we got our list of however many thousand invitations it was that got sent out, and you push the button and away they went.
Right.
And we did some test cases beforehand just to make sure it was going to work right. But that, the simplicity of being able to send out those invitations, that was really impactful because it wasn't, somebody sending out, 1,600 individual emails.
Right.
It was a system.
Right.
And I clicked the button once.
Right. And you mentioned the video with Piper. Could you explain what that video was? As far as I know, there's kind of before and after the table promo.
It's on our website, hopeinggod.org, and if you just search for table in there, you should be able to find that. But we did a launch video and incorporated the tables video with it. And basically, Pastor John talking about, the fact that we are all about worship at Bethlehem, and that worship isn't just something that we do on Sundays or Saturday nights, depending on which service you go to. It's all of life is part of worship, and we get to enjoy that in so many different ways. And one of the ways that we're enjoying it now is by introducing this new tool, the table.
Very cool. Yeah, I thought that was real well done. I'd encourage all you guys to check that out on their website. They do a kind of intro. John does an intro. They show a promo, and then John kind of does a closing, which I felt like was a real strong, case for here's why this fits our body. Which each of you are going to have different messages for how this fits your body, but that's at least a good example for you to look at.
I'll tweet a link of that later.
Okay, great. If you had a launch do-over, what would you do differently? Or is there somewhere that you felt like you guys tripped up or tried something and it failed? Or anything as far as a bit of advice on that side?
That's a hard question. A launch do-over. If I had it to do over again, I'd probably have Pastor John take off the sweater that he wore for the video.
Is it the red? He mentioned the color.
Yeah, it's the red sweater. Yeah. I would do that over. I would have him pull that off and just be the button-down collar shirt. What else?
Or anything in addition that you wish you could have pulled together, or
Yeah, our launch was relatively simple. I mean, we didn't do a whole lot more than the video and the emails. I think it'd have been nice to have some information tables with additional information, or at least some extra question answering. And after the service, we had some folks ready to receive that, but there wasn't like an official place.
Promotion of it.
It would have been nice to have a table with the table logo, and have some people sitting there to answer questions about it. But at the same time, because of how we were doing our launch and the invitation, we weren't really set up. It would be, if we were doing invites on the spot, that would have been better. But even having some information would have been helpful. Right.
One thing that came out of that, I think, was a suggestion from you guys as far as our kiosk mode, which many of you may not know that we do. But if you go into the super admin area on the table, there's a kind of links area on your dashboard there, and you'll see a link that says kiosk mode. And what that allows you to do is basically click that button, and basically there's a one-page website which just has an email field for anyone to enter their email address and get invited to the table. And that was something that came out of your launch as far as, hey, this would be really nice for us to have in the foyer potentially.
Yeah, I think that was Andy Lang, our IT director's idea, and I think that was a really good one.
Cool. Good. What do you do now, or would you like to do, or are you planning to do to continue to drive engagement on the table? I mean, obviously, any network needs to be watered pretty continuously to keep it growing. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, one thing that we did at the beginning after the launch that we need to continue to do is, we have a welcome pastor at each service that takes care of the lovely announcements that everybody enjoys so much as part of the service. And 1 week we asked for them to highlight something for themselves about the table from the previous week. And the campus I was on, the pastor was talking about, this week I saw this on the table, and we were praying for them, and we want to pray that same thing for, and that was the concern that we were talking about during the announcements that week. It's probably the missionary of the week. We were praying this for this person on the table. They posted a prayer request, and I prayed for them, and we want to pray that same thing for our missionary in
Sure.
Zimbabwe, because it's the same truth that carries over here.
And each campus pastor kind of had their own unique thing then.
Yeah.
Okay,
Each campus pastor had their own story. I think we'll probably do that again. We're probably going to do another video. Maybe Pastor John again, if we're able to catch him for something like that. If not, then we'll might do something with like the campus pastors. We're hoping to do a testimonial video of people who their life's really been affected by how the table and people praying for them has really touched their heart, and an experience they had, or something else, maybe through the Serve app and volunteers that did something or whatever.
I think sharing those stories are a great way, to help people understand, why are we doing this? What's to really cast that vision? I've heard from a few different churches, often it's not even visible as far as what everything's happening behind the scenes on the table of connections you don't even know that are being made between people that just found someone in their neighborhood, or a serve item that was someone posted their phone number, and that serve item was met even though maybe it's not reflected on the table yet. Different things like that aren't necessarily seen. Yeah. But it'd be great to gather some of those stories. It'll be interesting to see. So I think that's a fantastic idea. The next one here is, how many staff hours did it take to launch the table? Would you guesstimate?
Oh man, all in all, well, it's hard because we baited for a while, and then we had the actual launch, so I get those things messed in my mind. I'm really hard pressed for me to say how many staff hours totally it took. For me, as a super admin, I may have spent an hour or so a day initially leading up, and we had 3 other people that were involved with it, and they were doing about the same, I would suspect. One of those was a volunteer, so 3 staff people spending about an hour a day, and a volunteer doing about the same. And even now, we're under 10 man hours for maintenance.
Right. So that's one of the misconceptions, is that, man, we need a full staff person to manage this like we do Fellowship 1 or anything else like that.
No, it's really nice that it just kind of takes care of itself. You turn it on and you get the flywheel spinning, and then let people jump on and use it, and it just keeps going. I'm blown away. I log in and look at the prayer wall, and wow, there's new prayers here, and there's people praying, and there's new serve items up, and I'll catch an email that somebody is in a group has been doing this, that, or the other thing. And it's really neat to see the interaction going on.
Cool. It's helpful. And that's really, you kind of answer that question as far as, so you'd say around, maybe 10 hours spread out across a few people per week, just ongoing. And that's F1 integration stuff. So it's kind of steering the application as far as, if someone posts, flags an item or what have you. Yeah,
it's so simple. I mean, when I log on, I use the table anyway because it's the social media connection for our church.
Right.
Well, I'm also a super admin, so when I'm in there, I just jump into super admin, check the queue, new groups, check the group. Yep, that's a good group. Approve that. This is an official one. Approve it. Go in, mark it official. And okay, here's a couple flagged items. Okay, this one, this one's actually okay. That shouldn't have been flagged. I approve that. This one, I need to talk to somebody about this. I'm going to leave that one there. I'm going to talk to one of the other super admins, get their take on it, and we'll deal with that accordingly.
Sure.
One of the keys that we've adopted is if an item is flagged and it's something that we have to deal with, we always deal with it personally. It's not just, oh yeah, that shouldn't have been there, delete, and that's the end of it.
Right.
We contact the person that posted it and said, okay, just wanted to let you know this was flagged, we removed it, and here's why.
Right. That's great. Very helpful. What's one story you point to as a reason for the table? I'm sure your ear has been kind of to to the platform as far as hearing stories here and there. Or, what would be one story that you'd give?
Our society is growing more and more and leaning online, and this incredible tool that the internet is providing for more and more of social structure. You can file your taxes online. You used to, I mean, if we would have talked about using a computer to file your taxes 10 years ago, as you know, I didn't even fill out any paperwork. I just did it all on a computer. No,
Right.
that's not possible.
Right.
So the society the culture is changing, and people are moving more and more online to use those things. Why use the table? Because people are online, and the church exists to serve people and to push people into ministry and help people know about who Christ is. The table is a tool to do that with.
Is there any specific story that you point? I mean, either personally or that you've seen in the community?
Yeah. Well, like I said before, my trip to North Minneapolis with my kids to help clean up, that was really cool. I love jumping on we moved recently from one of the suburbs to another suburb. We didn't really know anybody. Jumped on the table, looked at the neighborhood, and was like, wow, okay, I know those people, and they're relatively close. And I don't know these people, but they look like our kind of people. Let's go meet them, So make sure to meet up with them, and we've ended up going to neighbors' homes for dinner because they go to our church.
Right. That's awesome. That's something that wouldn't have easily happened, right?
No, yeah, I wouldn't have known it otherwise. I mean, it's a foreign area to me. I don't know, just by a street name, normally you know what part of town that is necessarily. But in an area as big as the Twin Cities, that can disappear really quick.
Very cool. Next one here. Next one will go. This is last question, and then we'll open it up. We'll see if any of you guys have any questions, please enter it in the questions area on the GoToMeeting panel. One nugget of advice that you'd give all the churches that haven't launched yet or in the process of launching, would be one little nugget.
One piece of advice is if you're in the preparation process and you're getting ready to launch, don't do it prematurely, and do it really well. The online tools, social media, you might have an old school pastor that just doesn't get it, and maybe is against it. Do your research, work with the concerns, answer the questions as best you can, and show opportunities of this tool in use. It is worthwhile doing. It's very helpful. But if you don't do it well, that's going to leave a bad taste in their mouth forever. And so any other effort you try and do, it's going to be clouded with that previous experience. So do it well. Take the extra time that it takes to do it right. There's a lot of things that we like to do, and we think everything online should be fast, and even getting set up with a table is super fast. You can do it in 7 minutes, and you have your table up and running. But doing a launch, do that one well. Do that one well the first time.
Very good. Thanks, Jonathan. Let's. I'm just going to open up the GoToMeeting here and just see any questions we have. Looks like we have a couple. So if it's cool, if you'll stick around and answer a couple of these.
Absolutely.
One of them's here. My pastor needs to watch this. Will this webinar be available in the archive, and how soon will it be there? It's a great question. We do archive all of these, and I did record this, so we'll get this uploaded onto our Vimeo. Should be within the next day or two, if not sooner. So be looking for that. If you don't know as far as that piece of where to find that, just go to tableproject.org. If you go to tableproject.org and go to the bottom, there's a help link right at the bottom. So just click help, and then you'll be able to see there's FAQs, there's general help videos as far as all of our kind of different guides, and you'll see webinar as a link under there. And that webinar, you'll see archived webinars that are videos to past webinars. So make sure you check that out, and we will post this one afterwards as well. Yeah, put the link to the intro video on the screen so we can check out. Yeah, I might as well do that right now. I know you're going to tweet it as well.
Yeah.
But why don't I just go to Hope in God, and we can get this up here. Let's see, it would be under what, resources?
Just do a search and hit table. That was there. Mm-hmm. There you go.
All right. So let's see.
I think this link. Yeah, that's the Vimeo link.
All right. Let's add this in the chat here. All right. So that link's in the chat now. So you can click on that link and you can see how they did their intro video. Has the table been used to connect your leadership groups, elders, staff?
Yeah, we have a staff group on the table. We have elders that gather together on a regular basis. Our small groups are using the table. Create a place for them to kind of keep in touch with each other. There's people that just go to their prayer time of their small groups with laptop available, and they punch in their prayer requests there to keep track of everything that's going on, so that there's a record. And it's really nice to go back to that record. We used to do that. It was called a book, and we wrote in it with a pencil, and we'd go back through the pages, and we'd say, "Wow, this is really cool
God's
what
doing.
God's done."
Yeah.
Well, now we can do it with a scroll and a mouse and look at it.
Yeah, that's cool. Has the table been useful in helping members assimilate into ministry? In assessing areas of service, it is designed to help in that way, helping staff or leadership see areas of service.
I certainly can be. It has been helpful in assimilating folks with the church. The bigger piece is is just kind of helping them be aware of those opportunities that are available. And most of that you're going to see through the serve side of things. Mm-hmm. Once they are involved and they go to the groups, and if they look for things that are focused around their interests, they're going to end up finding things. My responsibility at Bethlehem is that I'm the tech director there, and we've got 3 different groups for media ministries on the 3 different campuses. So I've got a north group, a downtown, and a south group. And as people have interest, they might jump into the north group and say, "Hey, I'd like to serve in this area. Can you give me some more information?" So yeah, it's a great way of doing that.
And I should just mention, just so you know, the way the Serve app is built, it actually recommends service opportunities on the Me page for that individual based on their interests, giftedness, location. So there's a little bit of that matching that takes place even within the application to help connect needs with people's giftedness. So that's one of the things that is in there, and we're constantly striving to make better.
Yeah, so as you're making groups for ministry, be as verbose as you can with as many different tags so that it does catch people as they're looking. If I put in media ministries and I misspell it, it's probably not going to find anybody. So that's somewhere where accuracy really counts.
Right. Yep. Good point. Where do I find the text for the invite for the that the kiosk sends out? Can I customize this text? As far as the invite itself, you can customize the text of an invite from the table. It has a field in the invite area that says add a personal message. As far as the kiosk mode goes, that's a good question. I think I can go to it here at a sample church. I'll just go to a sample church here that I'm in and show you where that is and what that looks like. Let me go to fellowship here. So that's in the super admin. If you go to manage, and then in the popular links, you'll see an invitation kiosk. So right now, I think your point is probably if I go to that, I can't enter any customizable text, and that's true in this mode. This would be sitting out because they're really sending this to themselves. This would be sitting in the foyer on an iPad, and basically they're just entering in their email and sending invitation to themselves. So that's why there isn't a spot there to add custom language with that invite. I think that is a good idea, though, that potentially in our settings we could add, what text do you want to be sent to all invites? That might be a good feature request. Just so you know, anyone who has any feature requests, there is a feedback tab on every table on the far right-hand side. You'll see this green feedback tab. Just click that, and you can enter in any question, problem you're having, or idea. So we greatly appreciate those. Have you integrated existing ministry or small groups into the table, and how? I think you kind of answered this as far as your small groups.
We've kind of left that up to them, the different ministries and small groups to do on their own.
Okay.
So the small groups that want to have their own group on the table have created it, and there's quite a few of them. Ministries have been a little slower to adopt, but they're coming around.
Sure. And you guys use Fellowship One. How do you guys use the groups on Fellowship One or not?
I'm not the best person to ask about that.
Okay.
I'm not the Fellowship One guy. I know that we do use some aspects of it, but not completely to the extent that Fellowship One allows these to be used.
Okay. Good. From your experience, what features would you like to see in the table in the future? What's kind of your top couple?
Well, the first feature I would have asked for is a iPhone app. You got one of those?
Finally, yes. And then the second question is, for all those out there with Androids, we all say together, what about the Android app? And that actually, I'm pleased to say, is in the design phase here. We're not forgetting you. So I just want to make that caveat. But I'm glad that we've at least got that out there for you.
Yeah, that was the first question. This is fantastic. Man, it doesn't work well on the phone. Now, my second one is, as things continue, I've used the iPad for a lot of things. I've got one sitting here in front of me now, and it works most of the time really well with the table. But there's some areas where it could use some work, and so I know the guys are working on ways to make it a little more touch friendly.
And would you see, in your opinion, I mean, the obviously the iPhone app you can use on the iPad. As it stands right now, would you use it that way, or do you use the browser?
It depends on what I'm looking at. If I'm trying to find somebody's information, then I'll use the iPhone app on my iPad.
Okay. If you're discussing things, obviously there's functionality that doesn't exist.
Trying to run through the prayer list. I'll probably go with the iPad because the data entry is a bit easier on the larger screen in that form.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and that is also kind of in our works as far as an actual iPad designed platform. So an extension of our iPhone app that'll look different on the iPad and work better on that device.
As far as the table is concerned on its own and other potential features that we'd like to see on there. We're looking forward to some of the additional admin side pieces, being able to look a little deeper into use and being able to maybe focus on more of those and maybe spend a little more time. Yeah.
Right.
So looking at some of those reports, that'll be really nice once that's ready.
Great. Have folks used the table in ways that surprise you at all? Anything that's kind of, wow, I didn't know they'd use it for this?
Oh, wow. Got to think about that. I think the biggest surprise is how fast the adoption took place. I thought it would ramp up more than it did. It didn't. It just launched. It was like boom, and people were on there. And it took maybe a week or so for people to start using it and get used to how it functions. But that was nothing. It was really nothing.
One of the surprises, just kind of as an outsider looking in, it seems like your community is very. There's people I know. There's an auto mechanic that just said, "Hey, I'm an auto mechanic, and I will help you with all these things." I teach music lessons. I'll freely. It's been really cool to see how people use their gifts and say, I have this gift. I want to just share it with the community.
Yeah,
Which has been
I
fun.
actually saw a couple of those, and I'm like, well, what do I have to offer?
Yeah.
So I made one. I went onto the Serve app and said, okay, if you need audio video stuff,
Yeah.
you're setting up a home theater in your house, I can help you with
Hmm.
that. I know how
Hmm.
to do that.
Hmm. That's awesome.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the things.
Cool. Why is my Twitter feed never loaded on my table profile? And that's a great question. I'd love, so if you go to Get Satisfaction, I haven't seen Twitter profiles not load. I know that every once in a while, Twitter will kind of the connection will especially when they have the different fail whales going on with Twitter, that connection will get dropped. But if you enter in a ticket and Get Satisfaction, we'll make sure to look into that for you. It looks like you also say your quick notes don't work. When I click to send a quick note, the name and address don't automatically fill, and my cursor doesn't work to add it. Yeah, I would point you over there because they need to get a little bit more details as far as your browser, what OS you're using to be able to kind of dig through that. So would love to help you if you go basically onto your table and hit feedback, and they can interact with you there. Good question. As a staff member, it would be great to have an integrated contact base to use for your iPhone app. Am I correct in assuming that the table is more self-created and managed as opposed to a managed database? Can a contact database be uploaded? That's a good question. It is. I mean, when you talk about a contact database, you're right in saying that it is controlled by the user. So everyone's users or everyone as an individual are updating their own information in real time as opposed to a managed where you're updating all their information. And we've done that on purpose. I mean, people are used to that in all social spheres as far as not allowing an administrator to come in and adjust their profile on the system. Our hope for that is actually you get more up-to-date contact information because the people are updating that information for themselves and for social interaction as opposed to just for the church, if you will. So the iPhone app does work as a full directory, but that information is updated by the user and not by the administrator. I don't know, Jonathan, if you have any thoughts on the two scenarios there, but which you like better.
It is self-created and managed, and as far as how the F1 stuff interfaces with it, I'm not the guy to ask on
Right,
that.
right. Yep. Yeah. So as far as with F1, just so you know, all the information does sync back and forth as far as profile information to keep those two databases in sync. If you as an administrator update information on F1, it pushes to the user and says, hey, but next time they log in, it says, hey, these things have been changed on your profile in F1. Do you want to keep them or go back to what you had done before or had it before? And they get that choice. So it will update from F1 to the table and vice versa to keep those in sync.
To go back to Laura's question about the Twitter, Laura, your Twitter profile is private; it's locked, and because of that, that's why the table can't see what it says. Because basically, the table is looking at the public feed, and you don't have a public feed because you've privatized your Twitter account.
Nice. We got Jonathan here doing troubleshooting right on the call. I love it. That's good. And that's just a setting within your Twitter settings list as far as making that public or private. Is there a way to upload a church calendar to the calendar tab? Great question. Actually, we're rolling out here in well, I don't want to say a couple days for sure, but the functionality is done. There's a Google Calendar app being added to the app directory, in which if you use Google Calendar, you can actually just put in your username and it sucks in all of it basically displays your Google Calendar right on your church page or group page. Now that's not highly integrated with our calendar feature. We are working towards that. That is a priority for Q4 here of 2011 to create kind of 2.0 of our calendar in which we'll integrate with iCal, Google Calendar as far as importing, exporting and everything like that. So we are going to make it easier to use our calendar, but for the meantime, it's kind of I'd call it a little bit of a Band-Aid as far as if you already use Google Calendar, just suck it into the table and you can display it right there and people can view all the events from within the table.
Now let me follow that up.
Yeah.
So if, as an admin for my group, I can have a group calendar that everybody sees, or does everybody have to load the calendar individually for their own?
Nope. So it would be whatever public calendar that you share. Each calendar has a name, username,
Right.
whatever. So when you share that, that will display on everyone's
Okay.
everyone's table. So it's different than Dropbox,
Right.
which the Dropbox app is very much unique to me.
Right.
The calendar app is displaying you as a leader because only the leaders have the ability to change the settings for that
Sure.
app. It's you as the leader bringing in that calendar.
Okay.
Great question. That's a good question. One that's at the top of our list and get satisfaction is integration with Google Calendar and other calendars. So we are working on that. Also wondering, will the character limit ever be increased on QuickNotes? I get what you're saying on this. Probably, the big concern is, well, 140 characters, I can't say what I need to say to these people.
Pull up their account and click the email.
Right. You can bring up any profile and click on email and email an individual. We do have a full new kind of email system that we're rolling out that will allow you to email your group, and you'll click on that link and it'll actually open up your email client with all their emails put into it. So you can do a group-wide email, but we aren't going to facilitate that email. We're basically just going to prepare it in your email client from the table, so export that data and allow you to send that email. The reason why it's 140 characters is very there's a reason why we limited it there. To be able to be used for SMS messages, we needed to put that character limit on it. So that's why it's limited. And the real power of QuickNotes is quick communication, which is why it's called QuickNotes. The fact that I can send a quick message to anyone and they can receive it wherever they want. So some people would get text messages, some people would get it via email. It really depends on how they want it set up on their account. So that's really the beauty in QuickNotes. We weren't trying to recreate email with that system. The new iPhone app actually shows the full conversation of QuickNotes, which is also really nice, and we will be going to that view within the web app as well.
That'll be cool.
Where? So she's wondering as far as changing her public to private within Twitter. Do you know in the settings?
If you go into your settings, if you log into Twitter and change your settings, and basically it's called protected, and if you unprotect it, basically what that does is it makes your feed viewable to the whole world. Like if you just go to twitter.com/JAD77, you'll see everything I've ever said publicly to anybody. And that's what you're basically allowing to have happen, as opposed, and you can control who's following you as well. So like right now, I couldn't just follow you on Twitter. I'd have to get approved to be able to follow you.
So when I click into the settings here, I believe it would be right here, tweet privacy, protect my tweets. So you probably have this checked. You need to uncheck that in order for it to display. Take a few more here. We use YouVersion Live Events as our electronic worship guide on Sunday.
That's really cool.
Is there a way to incorporate that into the table? Actually, we have had some pretty cool discussions with the YouVersion guys, and we've both committed to some sort of integration here as we move forward. They're working on their APIs right now and are going to be releasing those soon. So this is a great idea, and I'll file this away in our improvements area, in which when we do have that availability to integrate with them better, I think that's a great idea. So yeah, we also have a partnership in the works with an organization that builds mobile applications, really front-facing mobile applications for churches. Actually, Bethlehem has one of those that was just made, and I think you're rolling out.
Yep,
we are going to be doing some integration between those as well, as far as your front-facing kind of table app for your church, or excuse me, iPhone app for your church and the table app, allowing those to connect.
I think this question might be being asked the other way around too. Can I have? Is there a way to maybe do live events information to be listed on the table?
Oh, got it. Yeah, no, that's a good question as well. I see that as a potential feature addition to our mobile apps in the future. We've looked at, obviously what are the big things around what are the big benefits of having a mobile device with the table? And so far it's been prayer, being able to post prayer requests in that moment of need, finding serve opportunities when you're available and in the area that you're at. Directory is an obvious one. You're sitting at church and you want to find someone's name that maybe you've forgotten, or you want to interact with them in that way. And then I think that fourth one is a pretty obvious one as far as live events. Our kind of philosophy has always been don't recreate the wheel. So it'll depend kind of if we need to build out our own system for that, if we can find a good partner to integrate with. I think that'll be something we need to look at. But we're not far down the field on that. So I think that's a great idea, but something that it certainly isn't on our roadmap currently. Does the table work with ACS in the same way as it does F1? We are looking into that. We want it to be able to. It doesn't currently. So right now it'd be a manual export, manual invite, and it wouldn't be syncing at this time with ACS. So depending on how you use ACS, we do have a lot of ACS churches that still use the table, and they really kind of let the table be their community side, and they're okay that it doesn't fully sync. And they, just like they would manually, they can look at the table's kind of more up-to-date data and update their ACS data that way. But our hope is to integrate with them the same or to a similar level as we have with F1 moving in the future. You got a lot of you demand. Is there a place where I can pay or get a person-to-person training for the table? I'm near the Twin Cities. Actually, Chad, yeah, we are launching soon this program called the Table Carpenter Program, in which we're training right now 5 carpenters. That basically there'll be 3 different launch packages and training packages in which you can purchase from them. They won't be employees of the table. We're putting them through kind of this table certification process, and we actually have 3 in the local Twin Cities area. So if you want to email me at jasonw@tableproject.org, I'll connect you with one of those people, and you can chat with them about opportunity here. We also will be coming to Dallas, Atlanta, and hopefully Nashville within the next few months as well. So if you are interested in a high-level, high-touch help as far as rollout and implementation, please let me know that, and I can definitely direct you. Can you friend someone through the iPhone app? What does becoming friends with someone on the table gain beyond not being friends? Great question. You can't friend someone right now on the table app. It's just more of finding them, messaging them. So there's no friending feature. You can accept friend requests and ignore friend requests on the iPhone app. You just can't add them. That will be a feature in 1.1 for the table's iPhone app. As far as why, this is something we wrestled with early on. What's the whole point of friends? Is that even the right terminology within a church? The whole friending idea. We're all really people, brothers and sisters in this body. The fact is, people just understand understand the whole kind of friends idea, and what friends do on the table is basically, if I want to share my cell phone number, I may not want to share that with a 2,000 member church, but I'm okay sharing that with the 20 people I already know. And so primarily what friends is on the table is just a group of people you're okay maybe sharing more information with. So it's very much on the privacy setting level. But not on there is some aspects where it's like I want to see, here are things my friends are sharing or my friends' prayers that I'm closest to. There are some components of filtering by friend, but for the most part, it's all around that privacy side. That's a great question. All right, guys, thank you for your time. I know we went a little bit over here, but really appreciate Jonathan. Thank you so much for sharing some of your experience and being part of this.
My pleasure.
And hopefully you guys got some good information here. We'll try to do these kind of roundtable Q&As with different leaders all over the place every once in a while. So hopefully it was helpful for you. And yeah, let either of us know. You have Jonathan's Twitter. Mine's at jwenell, at JWENELL, or @table. Either of those you can get at us with any questions. And then my email is jasonw@tableproject.org if you'd like to connect beyond that. All right, thanks guys. That's a wrap, and hope you guys have a good rest of the week. Take care.